So the next method of cooking is boiling. Obviously one of the simplest ones. You just boil stuff in the water, and the water normally boils at 100 degrees. So we've got sprouts, carrots, peas. Now other famous things are rice. So just boil rice about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. Pasta is another popular one as well. And eggs are another popular one as well. So there's some other ones. Eggs as well. And what else? Potatoes, any vegetables. You can boil meat and fish, but normally you would simmer or poach fish. So here's some things on boiling here. So let me just see if you can see that. Boiling. So boiling involves cooking food by heating it in a pan of boiling liquid using water. The type of food that are boiled include tough cuts of meat, and normally you would actually, tough cuts of meat should be stewed, probably better than boiled. Potatoes, rice, pasta and veg. It's quite harsh method of cooking and can't be used on delicate foods because the bubbles would break the food. Overboiling can also make the food like pasta too soft. Boiling is a healthy way to cook. No fat is added. However, if vegetable is boiled for too long, colour, flavour and water-soluble vitamins, which are B and C, are lost in the water. Boiled food is often not as tasty or attractive as a food cooked by methods like roasting. However, boiling in a small amount of water with a lid covering the pan uses less energy than other methods, e.g. roasting or simmering. So steaming, that's one advantage of steaming and stir frying over boiling, is that you don't lose the vitamin B and C into the water. What you can do with the water afterwards is maybe use it to make gravy. Thank you. So we're going to do shallow frying now. So we've got some black pudding cooking in the right there, that's made from pig's blood, and we've got some kidney here, which is also, so we're frying, you can fry loads of things. So we're going to fry some kidney and some black pudding. So this is shallow frying, right? Other things to fry are, obviously as you can see I've got one mushroom in there, but I'm frying that in butter, not in oil. So we've got some sliced up mushrooms, or you can have whole mushrooms. I'm just going to make sure I put it back on. Is it on? Oh, it is on. It is on. It doesn't look like it's on. So I could really put the real big one on. That might speed it up a bit, right? So we'll take that one off. So we'll leave the big one on a bit. So we've got two things frying there. Now we can also do some tomatoes. And you can either have whole small ones, or you can cut one in half. Just going to cut this one in half. Then we can have some things here. Now also, we can, the most well-known thing to fry is probably steak or eggs. So now we're going to do some eggs, and I'm going to read out a bit about frying from the book here. So I'm going to hold this in front for a minute just while that heats up. And we've also got some bread to fry, and I've got some tomato frying. So I've got some tomato frying, and you can grill some of this stuff obviously. And also I've got some bacon, which is another famous thing to fry obviously. So we've got bacon that can be fried. Normally allow it to heat up a bit more. We're going to have a bit of bacon each. So these are all things that can be fried, and I'm going to do an egg as well. So I've got my book, so I'm going to read the book out while we do this. So now I'm going to put it in front of you so you can read it with me at the same time. Oh, shallow frying. So hopefully we can see that. Shallow frying. Shallow frying uses the frying pans coated in a medium amount of fat or oil. Shallow frying foods include meat like chops, bacon and sausages, fish, eggs and pancakes. More fat is used when shallow frying than stir frying, so it's less healthy method of cooking. Solid fats in the food also melt in the pan as the food cooks, increasing the amount of fat in the pan even more. Shallow frying gives a food a crispier texture than stir frying. Another base method of cooking is sweating. This method releases moisture from the food, making it more tender and sweet tasting. Sweating is more often used for vegetables such as onions and use a small amount of oil over a low heat. Its low heat allows the food to release moisture without browning. While the food is sweating, it usually covered with a lid to help the moisture in the form of steam circulating the food. So that's shallow frying. So that's obviously a lot more healthier. So we're just going to get an egg. we're just going to get an egg. Just going to show you an egg, some different things. So obviously you can do pancakes, it says there. We're just going to we can do, obviously I'd wait till the bacon was cooked. We can do fried bread as well. And we can fry eggs. So this is all being shallow fried, and we just turn it all over halfway through. Deep frying would be for things like chips. So there's one method. So the method of heat transfer here is mainly conduction, because the pan gets hot and the food gets hot inside. If you're deep frying it, it's more convection, because you're cooking in the oil like you would in the oven. Thank you. You can see we've got a fried breakfast here, all fried. So obviously I'm having toast somewhere, having something else with it. There's not. So we got shallow fried bread, egg, bacon, kidney, black pudding, mushroom, tomato, and also you can have like an omelette with it. So if cheese omelette, so just 2 eggs, bit of cheese. Normally they're folded over when you make them. Normally a 3-egg omelette is a portion, but obviously this is just for breakfast. So when you go abroad to some places like Spain and that, they quite often have it. So we have that as well on there, or half of it, or just put all that. So it's loads of fried stuff. Thank you. We're doing different methods of cooking. This one is braising. So what we're going to do, we're frying it first, and then we're going to stew it. So the idea of frying it is it gives it a bit more of a flavour, and then we fry it, and then we put it in a slow cooker, or we add liquid to it, and just simmer it in the pan, very slowly, and for about 2 hours. If you're putting it in a slow cooker, which is here, one advantage of it, and I'm doing it in batches, as you can see it's got a bit of colour on it, which gives it like a caramelised flavour. That's called the Maillard reaction on meat. And if you do onions or sugar, that would be caramelisation. So that's its frying. So braising. Braising involves slowly, I'm going to show you in this book here, braising involves slowly cooking food in an oven-proof pot that has a lid on and contains liquid, usually water, stock or wine, and often herbs and vegetables. Food is cooked in a covered pot by a mixture of simmering and steaming. It is a great method of cooking for big, tough chunks of meat, because the gentle cooking of meat helps it to tenderise it. Before meat is braised, it is usually fried to brown, and to seal it. This helps keep the juices inside the meat and gives it a caramelised flavour. The flavours from the liquid and the vegetables and the herbs in the pot are absorbed by the joint. Very tasty. Or by the little bits, as you can see in the pot. So I'm going to put some onions in it. And we're going to fry those for a bit as well. And I can put some more fat in if I want to. And I'm going to put a few herbs in as well. So I've got some herbs from modern style here, which is a bit like mixed herbs. So in here, I'm just going to tell you what herbs. Fresh herbs would be good in this, by the way. In here, there's thyme, rosemary, basil, marjoram, oregano, tarragon. So that's just some mixed herbs. So I'll give it a bit of flavour. You can put carrots in it, leeks in it. So this is going to actually be for a pie, but you need to stew it. So you need to stew it for about 2 hours. And that's the next one, we're going to do stewing. So then it's like stewed for at least 2 hours. In the slow cooker it will take even longer, because it's simmers it very, very, very gently. But if you're simmering it on the stove, it takes roughly 2 hours to get tender. So braising. So after it's cooked for at least 2 hours, this has been more, it should be tender. So we get a bit of the meat out. Yeah, and we should be able to rip it apart with 2 forks, right? As you can see, real tender. This is look how easy this is just breaking apart. So just breaks a bit like sort of pork type thing. So it's in tender. Now I like it a bit darker than this. Now most people don't. You get a thing called gravy browning. A little bit of this in, about a teaspoon or so. And this is made with burnt sugar. And put it in, and it'll make it look a darker colour. So gravy is normally slightly darker. As you can see, it looks a slightly better colour. Maybe a bit more. I have to be careful not to stir it too much, because where it's so tender now it's just falling apart. So try not, because I like to keep the lumps in there. So as you can see, that's braising. So I'm going to be making steak and kidney pudding and putting some kidney in there. Thank you. Now we're going to do grilling as a method of cooking. Fat can drip off food as it's grilled. Grilling uses a dry heat at a higher temperature than baking or roasting to cook food. As food is grilled, fat drips out of the food and the outside of the food becomes golden and crisp. Barbecuing is similar to grilling, but heat radiates from the hot coals and food is cooked at a lower temperature for longer. You can grill many foods such as smaller bits of meat like steaks and sausages, vegetables like courgettes and aubergines, and cheeses like halloumi and goat's cheese. Food cooks quickly at a high temperature and it's fairly healthy as no added fat is added and fat from the food drips off when cooked. Just like roasting and baking, the golden outside of the food looks and tastes nice and can have a lovely crispy texture. Grilling on a barbecue gives food a smoky flavour, which is very popular. The high heat when grilling food can make it hard to cook the food evenly. It's easy to burn the food or to end up with the outside cooked but the inside still raw. This could lead to food poisoning. Handling both raw and cooked meats on the barbecue might lead to cross-contamination. Just do this bit here. So when grilling, heat is transferred through radiation. Heat radiation from a grill or hot coals when barbecuing, or conduction if using a griddle pan. Okay, now we're going to go to the grill and we're going to show you what we've managed to grill. And I'm going to get it out of the grill. So I've got a few things here. So we're just going to show you a few different things we've grilled today. And we've not done exactly what they've said on there. I'll just put it on the trellis. So as you can see, we've done toast, which is a well-known one, and this, where it goes brown, it's called dextrinization. And the same with the crumpet. So we've got grilled mushrooms, grilled tomatoes, grilled bacon, cheese on toast. Now this has actually gone brown through the Maillard reaction mainly, and this bacon's goes brown through the Maillard reaction as well. These tomatoes, I've cut them two different ways. This is the correct way when you're cutting grilled tomatoes, by the way, then you can't see the root inside. These ones look shinier because I brushed them with melted butter. Now it said you don't add added fat, but I did to these because otherwise they taste really dry. So that's some things about grilling. Obviously you can do steak and pork chops and vegetables. They said about grilling courgettes. They taste a bit dry unless you brush them with oil though. Thank you.